This is Garden Art Lesson Plan number 2, Flower Pot Painting and Bean Planting. So the materials you need for this lesson are some terracotta flower pots. You can get these at a dollar store, quite inexpensively. Cup with water, eraser and pencil, seed catalog or other pictures of vegetables, a sketch pad, acrylic paints, a palette, a variety of brushes, a rag, and maybe a sponge. We might experiment with a sponge. So the purpose of this lesson is to introduce acrylic paints, which are water soluble. You can mix them with water, but once they dry, they're impervious to water. So they're great for decorating things like flower pots and other garden things. And we're going to talk about textures and patterns, repeating patterns, things like that. You can see in this flower pot, I've made the middle of the sunflower with the texture of the seeds, and I have a repeating pattern of the petals and leaves around the top. There's other techniques you can talk about, like stippling, which is taking a little bit of paint on a brush and making little dots to make an image, just things like that. So the first thing I'm going to do, you have to put the first coat of paint on your pot. For simplicity's sake, I've already done this. Pick a lighter color and a wider brush and just do the background color of your pot. While that's drying, and acrylic paints dry quickly, so that's a bonus. You're going to have the children pick out an image they want to put on their pot and then do a rough sketch on their sketch pad. If the pots don't dry quickly enough, you can always use a hairdryer to assist with the drying. So I'm going to... These seed catalogs are great because they have tons of photos and nice bright colors and lots of examples of different vegetables. I'm going to paint some peas. Maybe some peas in a pod that you can see, and they're lovely tendrils. There's tendrils and some leaves. Would be a good subject for a repeating pattern. So with your sketch pad, I find if you just let children paint something, sometimes that works, but sometimes they're at a loss unless they think about it a little bit. So that's where the sketch pad comes in. It doesn't have to be a complete drawing. It doesn't have to be a lot of detail, just an idea. So a pea pod. This one's kind of open with some peas in it. And some pea leaves, which are kind of circular shaped. And all those lovely tendrils that peas have. And you can also decide on your color. Peas, of course, are green. There's lots of ways to make green. You can also talk a little bit about color, primary colors and secondary colors. So the primary colors are red, yellow, and blue. And the secondary colors are green, purple, and orange, which I don't have. But you can make orange by mixing red and yellow. And you get the secondary color of orange. If you mix red and blue, you get purple. And if you mix blue and yellow, you get green. So they can have some fun experimenting with colors as well. Also, a little bit of white is good if you want to have a lighter value of a color. I usually don't include black because it tends to dominate a painting and kind of suck the life out of it. Okay, so I have my dried flower pot. I'm going to choose, and it's my philosophy that quantity is better than quality. You want to have the kids free to use a lot of materials, use a lot of paper if they want to, a lot of paint. They can experiment more and they can have fun. But I'm all for recycled or really inexpensive materials to start with. Okay, so I'm going to start painting my pea pod with some green. And maybe for the peas inside I want a little bit darker green, so if I add a little blue, that's going to darken the green to more of a pea color. Kids love to mix paint. Experiment with that. My rag over here. When you change colors, you should clean your brush and wipe it off. Pea leaves. So I'm going to make the some stalks and tendrils. And then maybe a leaf. And things don't always have to be true to their real color. I'm going to put some blue in this just because it's a nice contrast with the yellow background. And then the repeating pattern for this piece is going to be just the curling pea tendrils, also known as a motif. I'm going to mix a little bit of a very light green with some white just to accentuate certain parts of this. I think I'll let that dry a little bit. And around the top is a good place to put a repeating pattern. So I'm going to put pea flowers. They're usually white or pinkish. I'm going to make white ones. And some little green. I think I'll put little dots in between. A little bit of orange in the center. I'm going to bring a little bit of that orange into the main part of the painting just to bring out, ties it all together. Here's where some texture comes in. I'm just making little dots, which is called stippling. And these usually come with a saucer. It's a good idea to get a saucer because when you water your plants, it, of course, will collect the water. And that doesn't need to be decorated unless you really are excited about doing it. So once it's dry, shouldn't take too long, but again, you could use a hairdryer to speed drying. Put some potting soil in, plant a bean seed about an inch down, and water it a little bit, and instruct them to water it every day, and they can take it home and observe a growing plant at home. See you next time.